Two collectors from two different perspectives come together for a weekly show that catches you up on the hobby you love. Hobby news, hobby drama, insider talk, and everything from collecting, investing, and selling. Welcome to Inside the Hobby. Hello and welcome to Inside the Hobby. I'm Frank AZHP, and it looks like our last episode rustled a few feathers.
Yeah, and due to that, we're going to need to make a tight-knit iron circle to protect us from all that negativity.
Since we got such an interesting and overwhelming response from our last video, this episode is going to be a special mailbag only show. And basically, since we occasionally give criticism to others, we feel like it's only fair for us to address criticism that we receive as well. Nicole will not be joining us. She's taking a break from the show for some personal reasons, some of which has to do with derogatory comments left about her from the last episode in the comments and through DM, so stay classy as usual there. But we'll go over our long-term intentions here before we start going through that mailbag, just to make sure that everything is clear to all of these new viewers, what our format is, how we do things, how we're going to switch things up, etc.
Yeah, Inside the Hobby was never really intended to be, Frank's show or my show. It was kind of intended to be the hobby show. The goal was always kind of having a rotating cast of hosts, sellers, collectors, and investors who have a passion for the hobby that can vocalize their passion and ultimately help, attempt an objective fashion of opinions around the topics that we bring up. And really ultimately have contrasting kind of opinions in that sense as well. Anyone who thinks they could have a qualified opinion and join the show could be a host and reach out to us if you'd like to. We've got the InsideTheHobby Show at Gmail email. You can let us know, and you could potentially be a co-host in a future episode if that's something you'd like to do.
Yeah, and speaking of other co-hosts, starting next episode, we will have another co-host on to talk about topics that they're interested in as well. We don't have guests. It's only co-hosts. If you want to be a co-host, you come in, you do a little, stuff. We talk about it. We figure out what you're going to talk about. We do the show. You cover your topic. All the stories are topical, and voice your own opinion. So there's no agreed upon opinion. We are not trying to be like the voice or the gatekeepers or any type of watchdogs of the community. We are just individuals who have our own opinions. So,
speaking of which, in the last episode, I chose to, cover the Geoff Wilson Card HQ story because his store had just, opened. It was, and we have opinions about Geoff Wilson and his card shop. The facts of the story brought up were red flags that generated questions of concern that we wanted to cover and make an episode out of. So that's what led us to the start of that last episode. But with that, I think at this time we can kind of look at getting into some of these mailbag questions and see your responses from both positive and negative. And Frank, you got some of those ready for us to go at this next point?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we're going to go over the positive ones first, just because there are some comments that mentioned that we've been negative, which we'll get to. And we figure we wanted to leave an out, because we don't always cover negative stuff. We cover negative and positive. We cover the story, we cover topical stuff, things that co-hosts want to cover. So shame on you, Brian, for wanting to cover this Geoff Wilson thing, and then shame on me for giving my opinion. Because we had some negative comments. So, but we're going to start with the positive first. There are a lot of great comments in here. So stick around. We'll give you a warning when all the generally positive or neutral comments are done, and then you can dip out if you don't want to hear the our version of like mean retweets. So yeah, let's start out with trading frames. So I'm gonna read these out, and then we'll weigh in. If the three of us had an opportunity to run a physical card shop, how would we run it, and what would we do to appeal more to consumers than having an expensive setup like Geoff Wilson's? This comment from Trading Frames, big shout outs to you, my dude. What do you think, Brian?
So yeah, for me, like, because if it's asking about the actual physical space, like, if I were to do it, it would be more kind of try to get to that level of a warehouse Burbank setup kind of a thing, because you're going to have people, once you open your doors as a card shop, coming in with collections, and it's going to be stuff from, junk wax era to modern stuff, and you're going to have to buy things to start getting your store going. And so it depends on what it is. Like, I think in this case he's asking like any size card shop, and if that was the case, I'd probably go a lot smaller size. I would start small and work my way up, focusing on building a community kind of around the card shop, kind of like a lot of the ones here in the Phoenix area do, where it's like they have a community of collectors and they have kind of a theme, whether it's really into baseball, really into football or whatever, and just kind of focus it on that, but finding ways to get kids into that area with it. If I had to go into the route of having the space that Geoff had, let's say somebody's like, here's $4 million like him, and to do it, I would probably condense down the space of where people walk in from and not have so much studio space that he has like in it. And that would be more of a back warehouse area. That warehouse would be everything that's listed online, sorted from like all the like dollar cards, 50-cent cards, you name it. But rather than most warehouses of like what card shops would do, I would make it to where you could actually walk into the shop and go through those boxes, pull them off of shelves, go over to the tables and actually go through those boxes. And then having a system that's set up to where every time the card's scanned, it pulls the listing off a line right away. So that way, no matter what you buy, it's going to come offline or whatever, and we're going to know if it's sold and have pickers going through that kind of area. So that way, as soon as sales happen, we're picking live as it goes to kind of keep that area as much as possible with the boxes these are ready to be bought kind of things in case somebody does grab something. But that was kind of my sense. And then have some of those. I do like the kind of vertical look that he had to some of those display cases.
I like the display cases.
It does look nice. I would just reduce down the studio space. Obviously, I don't have Sports Card Investor, so that studio would be gone. Maybe that's where the warehouse would be. Have less of the display cases because of the fact that I would want more tables where people can sit and go through boxes, and then that back warehouse that would be walkable kind of an area. It
sounds very, very similar to what I would do. I do actually like the vertical display cases. I've always been a big proponent of using vertical space. I have praised dealers at card shows for using easels or some form of allowing them to use the vertical space at their tables. One of them is one of our viewers, Las Vegas Raiders cards. He spells it a little different with an 8, but big shout outs to him. And I've said that I've mentioned that in the past. I've mentioned that in past videos. I mentioned that in my How I Store and Organize My Collection video on my channel. Like, I'm all the way up to the ceiling at the very, very top, and it's like that everywhere. So I really like vertical space. So I feel like what Geoff did with those was a good idea, but I feel like it's still not utilizing it enough. I would have the walls lined all the way to the top of the ceiling, or the drop ceiling in a commercial location, with slabs and singles, that I could just open. I feel like that's 10 times better than having display cases out on the floor. I mean, it's not necessarily friendly for people who are short. So be it. I'm using the space, have good eyesight. Maybe I'll hand out binoculars. That's a joke. But point being, I like using the vertical space, and I do feel that a small or at least a medium-sized location, if you're going to do something in bulk like what you would see from ComC inventory style or a Burbank cards inventory style, everything in order by sport, year, brand, card number, all the way down the line. A lot of internet sales. Retail is. I just don't think retail is the future, especially for something like trading cards. We have seen we people who have been in the hobby for 20, 30 years, like myself. I've seen this. I've seen what has happened with sports card booms and trading card shops. So like I don't, especially with the way everything's been going elsewhere as well. Everything's online sales now. Whoever goes to the mall, for an example, how often do people actually go shopping? Sure, I'm sure there's some cases, and it may be a little fun thing to do every once in a while or something, but retail is dying as it is. So it's unfortunate. I like retail. I feel like that's creates great experiences, but what I would focus on would be mainly like a bulk sale, like a ComC or a Burbank, over, and on eBay, just general sales on eBay, over trying to make this large consumer space. I just don't feel that there would be enough profit coming in on a consistent basis, especially with your margins, even if you're buying at 60 and selling at 100. So I don't know, but pretty similar to yours for the most part. It's hard to hate on the verticals. I like those. I can give Geoff credit for something.
Yeah, I saw another video recently of another kind of YouTuber walk through the store, and kind of you mentioned on the vertical space, he also had a lot of sealed product in like lower to the ground kind of things where it's like you put that on the walls and have that vertical behind desk space or something like that. It's more visible for people, and therefore they can see it. It's easier for your staff to grab and kind of let them buy right at the register kind of a thing, rather than having them in a display case taking up that space. But,
boxes are easier to deal with because even though they take up more space, you can stack them and people can see what they are on the side. Singles, exactly. You can't just stack singles. Like whatever singles you have to display your singles the best opportunity that they're going to sell. So, all right. Well, solid question from Trading Frames.
Thank you for the comment, Trading Frames. And question.
Good stuff. We will move on to next comment. Pretty positive here. This is a recent comment we just added. Are market movers and sports card investor financing the entire sports card shop venture? If all Wilson is doing is blowing the money, that is his problem. No harm, no foul to me. I hope he does well because that is good for all of us, but I am not remotely optimistic it will. Brick and mortar stores are size-sensitive endeavors. He could sell far more with far less overhead utilizing a simple eBay account and get so many more eyeballs than waiting on people to enter the place. That should be frightening. Were I an employee, I'd be closely monitoring my paycheck punctuality. Great. Absolutely fantastic comment. I feel like he's just agreeing with what we were just talking about.
Yeah. You think about like the business sense like we were talking about is that if you look at the younger generations of things and how much more they're buying online and not going to retail, we want to get kids into the hobby and stuff like that is what we're all trying to do, but where are kids going to go to buy cards? They're going to go online. And so if you're working on a physical card space that they're going to walk in, I've been in card shops all through the valley here.
To an extent, like it depends on how old they are. Like, sure, we talk to plenty of kids at card shows that may be buying cards online, but a lot of them are going to the shows. They don't have like a card. They don't have an account with eBay. They're not old enough. So I do like physical locations for getting kids involved.
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like it's a size thing. Because a lot of kids buy blasters. They're going to Target and Walmart and stuff. Or they're trading with friends.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with collectors is that whether it's a show or a store, obviously you have your local stores and shows to go to, but if you're a collector putting together a specific set, the internet's going to be the best place to find it versus going into a store.
But not for kids, though.
Yeah, for kids. Yeah, I think it's going to be like, it'll all depend, like if their dads are bringing them and their dads go to retail, it's there, but like what is the younger generation that's like in college right now that, will go to, that is buying online, what are they going to do with their kids is going to be the real question of what will happen to retail
what's the
in the future.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's the only concern around that. And like his comment kind of states is like, what's happening with Jeff's money? It's his money, and we don't know what's honestly funding it. I think that's the other thing is who is financing it is all. Obviously it says Geoff is the owner. We're not going to speculate and try to say like somebody's giving him money on the side of things.
In that last episode, you mentioned that there were 2 other guys that he did this venture with. And we went to the website and we looked at the website and it shows Geoff is the owner and the other 2 as partners. Yeah. All I know is if they are all in for the same amount, I'd be pissed if I was being listed as a partner and not co-owner. But maybe Geoff put more money down. But we don't know. That we don't want to speculate on how much people put down on a shop. It's too much for a physical retail location nowadays. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Should we move on?
Sure.
All right, we got from ATX Satch OKC. I've noticed through watching numerous breaks, the consensus for Geoff Wilson is overall poor, and he is overall bad for the hobby. He is fake in his videos and would rip off a 10-year-old in a heartbeat. Jealous in the sense we all wish we had the options having more money can give someone, sure. I think he was replying to a comment there. But D-bags are D-bags, and they should be exposed. I'm here for it. Happy hunting, y'all. I want to just get this out of the way. We are not the watchdogs, and we're not trying to be the watchdogs. So happy hunting, that may be a bit more much. Also, as much as I am not a fan of Geoff, and I do not think that he is a businessman, because a businessman makes money, I don't know if he would rip off a 10-year-old. I do think he's fake, but I don't think he would rip off a 10-year-old in a heartbeat. I don't know. Maybe you feel a little bit differently on it, Brian, but...
No, I agree with you, and like... in a lot of the videos I've seen of him, especially when it's around kids, he does make fair deals with kids. Like he's all about getting kids into the hobby.
He'd be hated even more if he...
Yeah, no, he does a lot of things to like try to make sure kids are part of the hobby, which is what I think every one of us that's in it all understands and wants. We all want, like, I want my boys to want to be in the hobby as well because of the fact that it's just a fun hobby to like connect yourself to sports, and he has that kind of same vision. I think as part of that part at least as well.
Doesn't everyone who's in the hobby want more kids to get into the hobby?
You would think so.
I mean, it's got to be like 98, 99%, right? Like, sure, some kids can be annoying sometimes, but most kids are good. It's a smart, it's a thing for them to get into to learn. They learn about the sports. They learn about players. They learn about monetary, relevance. They learn about market value, etc. So, I mean, I think there's a lot to be learned. Trading, not getting salty if you take a loss, being smart on how to get a win, etc. I think... just like sports, anything that they do, especially something that involves values, is good for kids and understanding the value of money.
Yeah. Agreed.
But, yeah, I don't know. I thought generally solid comment. I don't agree with everything in it, but he praises us, so that's cool. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you, sir. Next up from Yankees and Giants... 1886, he says, don't know much about Geoff Wilson, but he comes across as very unlikable and fake. I only know he took PPP loans and then bought a shitload of cards shortly thereafter and seems to like Will Greer. He took PPP loans, right? Twice.
He did, and they've been covered by other channels like Sports Card Radio. Dan the Card Man has mentioned
everyone.
Just about everybody, has kind of gone into it.
It's kind of
they were for his other company, the marketing company that he has. They weren't for either market movers and things like that. So that's at least what they say. So the speculation on did he spend that money on cards, we can't say that he did. There's no proof or evidence on that. We just know that he had PPP loans, which those are supposed to be for paying your employees because of the COVID lockdown and stuff like that.
Right. So there's claims made by individuals. We can't verify any claims. Of course, who knows? People can say anything, whether it's true or not. We'll never know. Geoff knows. And seems to like Will Greer. I mean, it's been played out a lot at this point, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with making fun of him for it. When you give advice on what to buy, you can't expect people not to make fun of you when you lose. You know, I have my channel. I show you what I buy, but I'm not trying to tell you these are the smart investments. You can choose to listen to whatever I say is, oh, wow, this guy's been collecting for 30 years, and he can tell you and he can show you this or that or whatever. All right, I'll take that, or that's good information, which a lot of people don't want to hear what you would have to say regarding investment advice anyway. They're looking for quick flips. They're not looking for investing. Because true investing is long-term, which is, I mean, that's another problem I have with Geoff. Sports card investor would imply that he is buying cards at a or buying cards at their particular lowest value and then selling them long-term to guarantee some type of profit. Look up the definition for investor. It's not flipping. And, you know, if he's telling you to buy guys for a long-term investment, I don't know, like especially young players, anybody out there who says buy this for an investment for long-term, don't listen to a word they say, because every tiny bit of it is speculation, and no one knows who is going to be, you know, the next Tom Brady, the next Wayne Gretzky, etc. Exactly. So anybody that tells you that is just it's garbage. So we can make fun of him for Will Greer.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you're talking about it, it's like you think about sports in general. Some of the greatest athletes we've seen play the game go a couple of years and then have a horrible injury and never play again or are never the same again, which makes this such a difficult thing to do, which is why, like, you
Robert Griffin III.
Yeah, Robert Griffin III. You could have had, like, oh yeah, go invest in RG3 rookies because he played so amazing, and then boom, that knee injury happens and he's never the same again, and now all of a sudden you're out thousands of dollars because you're just stuck with RG3 cards that are worthless.
Kind of a lesser version, but Cam Newton. I mean, Cam Newton was great his like third or fourth year on the league as well, but
yeah.
And unfortunately, I don't know why he doesn't get the hobby love. I guess maybe he didn't win a Super Bowl and because he's crazy on social media, but even if you would have taken advice by Cam Newton, okay, great rookie campaign, great couple years, run to the Super Bowl in his third or fourth year. Seems like a smart guy to invest in. Kind of sounds a lot like Josh Allen or Justin Herbert without the playoff run, etc. Joe Burrow.
Yeah, like the most recent version of the bad one would be Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Just a few years ago, drafted number 3 overall pick. Everybody's been buying his cards like he was the hottest commodity, and he's already gone in San Francisco.
We can come up with a list of 10 names per year at this point.
Exactly.
Like, we can just go back in the rookie class and be like, oh, remember these 10 names? Remember these 10 names? They were all the hottest thing. They were the expensive cost on eBay or via Beckett value or whatever. Like, it applies every single year, and every single year people do the same thing with young prospects. You want a lot of people just have to collect what they see on TV every week.
Yes.
Okay.
Very true.
Some RPA is some guy that you paid $300 for is still not a smarter investment than a Joe Montana rookie card. So, in my opinion, investment. Maybe on a short-term flip. Sure, buy it for $300, get it graded, sell it after he has a great game or a great playoff game or something. Make 60 to 300% profit. Great. That's flipping. That's not investing. Yep. But once again, me just ranting. All right. Mindcycle, leaving us with a long one over here. Big shout outs to Mindcycle. The comment section is on fire for this one, guys and gals. Great work. There's a reason Geoff Wilson is often referred to as the most polarizing figure in the hobby. I had a good laugh at all these comments talking about jealousy. It's a very childish viewpoint and shows to me that most of these commenters likely joined the hobby in late 2020 or 2021 when cards were being pushed to the public as investments. And guess who was at the forefront of that shift in narrative? Our boy Geoff. So now, a few years later, when a lot of the cards are hyped, or he hyped, are down 90%, we can't be critical. We're just labeled as haters or jealous. Laughable. So, I mean, 100% correct. Mindcycle knows his stuff. We referenced his one of his videos on that last episode as well. We said, even on Mindcycle's video, he does I don't know, somewhat of a breakdown. I don't want to call it the wrong term, but he lists what the card was reportedly paid for as from Geoff Wilson, and then what the value of that card is now. Not what he sold it for, and if he sold it, or when he sold it. Like, not everything is trackable. But let's just say a very large chunk of change in the 2020/2021 budget was lost. What was it? $500,000?
It was over $1 million.
Over $1 million. And he tried to explain it on his Geoff Wilson show, and it was garbage. There was no actual provided. Of course, I mean, I wouldn't either if I was him, technically, because it's my finances. But it's still a loss. Sorry to interrupt you. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna agree. I think if you guys want to see the breakdown of a lot of the stuff we have, go back and watch Mindcycle's videos. He's got basically his video where he does the spreadsheet breakdown showing, what Frank said, it's card purchased on his video for price A, and it shows him buying it in that video for price A. Then it's flash forward a few years later, and showing similar cards selling for price B. So basically saying, here's the market for all of these cards that he bought for this price that he called investments that are now down over $1 million. And that was 8 months ago when he did that video that got covered by everybody, including Geoff. And then he follows up. He's got another video where he watches Geoff Wilson talk about him on his podcast, The Geoff Wilson Show. And he breaks down Geoff and what he's saying when Geoff is taking things out of context, and even kind of showcasing what Geoff Wilson's doing. He does a great job of commentary and talking about Geoff Wilson, and when he's talking about him, to kind of say, this is what I was actually saying. And he even shows that he's left comments, reached out to Geoff for comment and reply back, and at that time had not heard anything. And then his last video of it is the breakdown of being called haters and the divide that we have now in the hobby of Geoff Wilson, sports card investor, and chasing cardboard on the good side of the hobby versus, sports card radio and Dan the Cardman and A1H and all the guys on that saying they're the negative side of the hobby and so on. And so 3 really good videos that all kind of follow up from his. Go watch that. It's just stuff we don't need to cover anymore because it's been covered well enough, especially by Mindcycle there.
Yeah. In fact, I think what we'll do is we'll just put in the description of the video, we'll provide a link, or we'll leave it in the comments or something. Go check it out. Worth a watch. Big shout outs to Mindcycle. Man, you get your flowers. All right. Next up, from Nesta Ninja, he says, one thing about breaking rooms near each other is that you can hear the other streams, so it messes up the whatnot streams. I'm guessing he's referring to Geoff Wilson's breaking section. I'm not super familiar with it. I think I saw a photo or two. It's just a big space.
It's kind of one area of the whole space because of the fact that it's just he's got Sports Card Investor, which looked like it was in the back corner, and that's a huge studio space. And then once you go from that, it's these breaker rooms that make up Breaker Row, as he calls it, which I think he said there's 12 of them that are studio rooms set up to be live whatnot streams going. And there's also one that's just for the Cards HQ shop that's in there for it. That is got, that they can do live, which he makes a good point. The thing is that I don't think at this point in time I've heard or seen that Breakers Row has been used yet. So far, I think they're waiting to hire the you go to cardshq.com, like their website,
Do you
you'll
really
see they're
think
hiring.
that you're just going to start filling out and selling out on all these breaks, on all these cards, and have 10 people breaking at once? I could see like one, maybe two.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see it happening.
His video when he first came out with talking about that he's making a card shop said that it was going to be 24/7 that they were going to be trying to have go, which if you're going to do that on Whatnot, I would just hope, like in this guy's comment, that it isn't going to be side by side, all 12 rooms filled at all times, that it's like maybe one room, and therefore like if I were running it, what I would do is be like, okay, you guys are breaking 1 to 4, you guys are breaking 4 to 8, and everybody's got a time so you can set up in a room next to them, but you're not actually live until the guys next to you are done.
I feel like the whole 24/7 sounds good, but do you really think it's smart to be selling cards at 2 to 4 a.m. when you could just not sell them then and then sell them during the day when people are actually like active? I mean, I'm a night owl. I love being up at night. I'll buy cards at night. I don't give an F. But I don't know. It doesn't make, once again, it's whatever random stuff comes out of his mouth just does not make sense.
I mean,
it's
just
like everything
the
else.
statement itself can be taken as a to be determined as well, because let's face it, if your whole store is listed on eBay and whatnot and all, like where you can sell, whether you're live or you're not live, you're technically 24/7, because somebody can buy a card from you at 3 in the morning when they wake up and whatever. Like, you can be selling cards all through the night, kind of a thing. And so that's maybe what he means. If he does mean to have somebody breaking in there, I agree with you. Like having a breaker break at the hours of 1 a.m. to 7 a.m. is going to be pretty rough to like have somebody there unless you've got a real big international following.
Right, that's what I was
awake
thinking.
At that time. But I don't.
And
but
most people don't want to ship international anyway because it's just so expensive.
Yeah.
So whatever. All right. we got another long one here. This is Sacramento Kings cards. I'm pretty sure he's from the Hobby Boards. So I'll read this one out. I agree with some comments about your negativity. It has been the underlying theme of all of your episodes, and I prefer to hear more about cards than hobby figures you dislike and disapprove of. Scumbag of the Week jokes are off-putting. Couple general thoughts about this episode's topics. I know about Geoff's history, but don't see an issue with his store. I couldn't care less whether he makes or loses money. He just owns a card shop. If anything, I'm intrigued. It seems like a unique hybrid card shop social space. Granted, I haven't seen any of his stuff, but don't know why it should garner any different reaction than the opening of any other shop. And then we can cover each one of these after I'm done here. He also mentions 2024 Series 1 has gotten lots of positive reception from what he's seen. I really welcome the change to the base design. It feels like Topps base looked the same for the last 10 years. Very cool they changed things up. Big shout outs to you, Sacramento Kings Cards. Thank you for also laying down some criticism as well. So we'll go over that. So starting with his first comment, negativity has been the underlying theme of all of our episodes. He prefers to hear more about the positive stuff. What do you think about that, Ryan? You agree? What?
I mean, I feel like every episode we have a person we talk about at the beginning, whether it was either Michael Story, Geoff Wilson, and so on. But we also are covering, the Hall of Fame usually in each episode of that on there, of like who's getting in, who was nominated, and things like that. Those segments, I don't feel like we've gone negative as far as that goes in those, and like most of our topics in there are kind of that. So the fact that saying our show is underlying negative, I would say I would disagree with, because most of our show is about those kind of topics of like what we're going to do collecting wise and things like that apart of those.
I agree. I feel like we did go a little bit on the negative aspect when we were discussing the Tom Brady cancels the Tyson Beck signing. But I mean, that was because we were referring to the current monopolization, and then we got into the soft drink TV and how it happens with video games as well. And like, so I mean, I feel like I think we try to do a nice balance. Like, if all the co-hosts together all wanted to do drama stuff, then me, ultimately, at the end of the day, as a producer, I would say, no, I'm not going to edit that. I don't even want to edit it. Just because I don't want to deal with that much either. I feel like we have a balance. We're not going to be an all positive news show, but we're not going to be the drama channel either. We may cover drama, and we don't mind the attention, especially now when we're getting started in episode 5. Give us all the attention, and those who want to stick around can stick around. But our goal is not to be like any particular thing. Plus, it's up to each individual host what they want to talk about. So if a host that wants to come on the show and they want to talk about something and it's drama, okay, well, the other co-hosts can either say something about it and give their opinion, or not say anything at all and say, this isn't a topic that interests me, whatever. Clearly, we want people opinionated, whether they are, on one side or the other. We don't care. As long as their points have, like, relevant information and can actually be discussed and not, useless attacks or something on the other person. So, I don't know. And I do agree with him saying the whole scumbag of the week jokes are off-putting. I agree with that as well. I cringed when I watched it. We're not going to be perfect, but I can guarantee you it was a joke and it will not be a recurring thing.
Yeah, we're not going to actually do that. That's, I agree with that statement as well. Like, that part of it is, I think it was one of those things where the joke was stated, and then we were like, nah, it's really more like red flags and like asking the questions. That's kind of what we really want it to be more like, is if there's a red flag about a thing in the hobby, we want to talk about it and then call the questions that could happen for it, because we're all collectors here, and at the end of the day, we just want to make sure collectors' voices are heard, because that's what really has the hobby going around, is collectors. Not as much as the influencers and things like that are out there. They're big voices, of course, but without collectors, this hobby doesn't really kind of move a lot further at that place.
Yeah. Hobby would not be around this long without the collectors. And then his next point was, I don't know why it should garner any different reaction from the opening of any other shop regarding Geoff's shop. And I feel like that's I would definitely disagree with that. I feel like there are people out there, judging by the comments that we will cover a little bit later, there are plenty of people out there who are under that spell. Now, once again, I feel like we're not the watchdogs, but as a current host, I feel like I'm going to voice my opinion on the matter. And if my opinion is, I think Geoff is a bad business person, and I think he paid money in order for him to become a hobby celebrity. I don't think he's making very much money at all, if any, at all. I'm going to state that opinion. I'm going to say, okay. That kind of sucks, but, if that's not what you want to hear, oh well, but sorry, man. I feel like I got to say something.
Yeah. Now, I agree with, like, the shop side of things. Like, it is a very interesting shop. We kind of mentioned that a little bit earlier. But as far as covering it, that was kind of what the opinions were. Like, if we had somebody on the show that was a little more contrasting, that was more on his side, you might have that opinion of how good his show was in a situation to that of what it's going to do for the hobby. But we were just giving our opinions because of the fact that it's such a large space, it's such a massive overcrowding, and just like we mentioned at the beginning of this part of what the future retail, where does that really kind of hold for a space like this?
Yeah, when you make the claim, which Geoff has done, that this is going to revolutionize the retail space, then you can't expect to not be criticized, and that's what we did. Plus, like, I may not even be a host on the show, but, like, if Brian selects a controversial topic, I can just blame Brian, because he's the one who selected the Geoff Wilson story. I didn't select it, but I'm not going to, like, shy away from giving my, I don't know, lukewarm or medium take on Geoff Wilson, just because I don't want to talk. I don't go out of my way. I don't talk about him on my Instagram or on my YouTube or whatever. But if I'm on Inside the Hobby and the topic is Geoff and I'm a co-host, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. So, yeah. 2024 Series 1, he said he got positive feedback, and it's different from the last 10 years. I definitely agree with that. Even though I'm not like a huge fan of the design, it might grow on me, because that happens a lot with Topps designs, where like it comes out and I'm like, this is kind of weak. But then they kind of grow on me after a while. We'll see what happens. Maybe after Chrome, maybe it'll look a little better in Chrome, especially with a refractor finish as well, with the whole neon look. I don't know, but I'm glad, I'm glad you enjoy it, and I'm glad it's getting some positive reception. I mean, good for Topps.
Yeah.
If they're going to make it, they might as well make it and make it good.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was... I know when we were doing that take, like, I welcomed also the new design of it. I kind of did like some of the color schemes of it in there. I'm like Frank, though. Like, I prefer more of the chrome kind of finish to the cards. So, like, looking forward to seeing how that kind of comes out when it does. And how does this design translate? And, I think... I've been a pretty big fan of Topps and their designs over the past 2 decades, pretty much, of like what they come out with, and
same.
It's just one of those things where like it will definitely grow on me no matter what if I don't like certain parts of it, but I do kind of like what it's looking like right now. And during the episode I was kind of stating that it was I think the comment of like how will the neon hold up over time is a valid question to ask. Like, what are collectors going to think about it 10 years from now, because it's neon, it's different, and sometimes different doesn't hold up in the collector's eyes 10 years, 20 years from now.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't hold up, if they get lucky enough with like a rookie class and the card becomes iconic, like, to be fair, these cards that I have on screen right now, the 84 football design on mine and the 83 baseball on yours, like, these are not particularly, like, mind-blowing great designs, but they're iconic because they have iconic rookie cards associated with them, and people are fond of them and nostalgic of them. So maybe Topps will get lucky. We'll see what happens. There's always going to be a certain solid level of rookie class, so...
Season's just about to begin. We'll find out from there.
All right, so next up, from... Miroslav Kinsman 7021, he says, not sure if the HQ will be profitable long term, but it is a very impressive walk-in. On the upside of the opening of HQ, it gives a channel like Inside the Hobby with 23 subscribers, hundreds of views on YouTube. Keep up the great work. I mean, he's not wrong. It is impressive.
Very
and
impressive.
It does give a young... upstart channel show hundreds of views, even if many of them are due to the drama part of the video.
Well, now in the thousands of views for it as well.
Yeah. I mean, that video has, I think, 1,500 views. I think we're up to like 38 or 39 subscribers or something. So I mean, yeah, we're now 5 episodes in, so
yep.
We're getting there. But thank you for the comment. Appreciate it. Brian, anything else to say?
No, it pretty much hits that one right there.
Fair enough. Doc's Cards, he says, looking forward to new content, new sub. Thank you, Doc's Cards. We appreciate you.
Thank you as well. Yeah, that's appreciated on there.
And I went and looked at his channel, and he's got a bunch of ripping. He's got a bunch of ripping product on there for his PC. So if you're into that, ripping retail, maybe some hobby. I just gave it a quick glance. Looked like decent presentation quality, so I think he's doing pretty well. I'm sure he's got many more subscribers than us. Yeah, go check out Doc's Cards on YouTube, because I thought he had pretty good presentation value. A lot of baseball, which I don't do, so...
Yeah, I took a look at some of his videos as well. Agree with Frank. It's it's one of those things we all want to rip and open packs, I think. It's so seeing somebody that's doing it for their own, it's kind of like just enjoyment watching a guy that's doing it. It's not in a break sense either. It's just him opening it for the enjoyment and putting it into his PC. So,
yeah.
If you like that stuff, go check them out. Good channel.
Yeah, thank you, Docs Cards. All right, here we are. Okay, yeah, this one's good. This one's good. Enjoyed the show, 100 emoji, and he mentioned Soft Drink TV is legit. Thanks for mentioning them, 100. Undoubtedly, 2K football would kill. I love football, but absolutely do not play Madden. It has been the exact same game for my entire life. The minute I first played 2K on Dreamcast, I felt relieved to finally play an NFL game that gave me the experience that I was looking for. Cry emoji. Real life boss 5381. Yes, agreed. 2K5 is amazing, which was the last NFL license. And then they did All Pro Football 2K8 with some legends in it, like Elway and Barry Sanders and stuff. Both of them are amazing, and both of them are heavily modded to this day by the community to where you can get like classic rosters, updated rosters. Very, very cool. A lot of them play emulators on PlayStation version. But also, as a huge fan of classic football games, including those 2Ks, you also need to look up the newer versions of Tecmo Super Bowl. Big shout-outs to S. Blue Man. You can go to, I think it's sblueman.com, and he does updated rosters for Tecmo Super Bowl every single year. And I love him. Well, he balances all the stats. He creates all the logo. They're fantastic. Go check it out. Or you can check out a ton of Tecmo Super Bowl updates and ROMs over on techmobile.org. People still play that game competitively to this day. And even ESPN did a 30 for 30 on it. I played competitively with my local scene for a couple times. They were shocked that a newbie came in and did so well. But, I mean, it's on my top 5 all-time favorite games, and I have the Japanese and American version sealed, and yeah, I'm a big fan. So yeah, you're missing out if you're not playing Tecmo Super Bowl 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brian, anything to mention?
Yeah, no, I'll back it up as well. I'm a big sports gamer fan as well. That's why Soft Drink is kind of like a easy one to kind of promote and talk about. I've been watching his stuff. That's who I was referring to with the Twitter hashtags and getting all that going. He's the guy that started it. And also, just kind of like what Frank mentioned on there, a shout out to Soft Drink's Discord. If you want to be able to set up all that kind of stuff as like emulators, he has a channel in his Discord of how people break it down, where to get the games from, what mods to get. So if you're looking to do that, he's got a lot of people that are real helpful in his community on his Discord that will help you get it set up if it's still active. So I would check it out if you want to get into that, because it's a great way to get into playing old sports games, because that's what he does and that's what his community's all about. Yeah. So
exclusivity sucks. Period. Yes. It's bad for the consumer.
Yep.
All right, next up, we've got Ryan Adonis. And he says, this has been the only show that has truly talked about this guy, Wilson. Wilson comes off so phony it hurts. No one in their sane right mind would pay for a 14,000 square foot sports card building in freaking Atlanta. Wilson thinks he is a celebrity and a star. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yep. Yeah, it's... that's one of the things with his videos, is it just feels like you're watching a guy that, found an area of opportunity because there wasn't as big of a channel that had all the audience at that time. And now he's there as the number one voice in this audience. And, anybody that's on YouTube is either trying to compete with him and be in his side, or is just wanting to talk cards and be the opposite and make their own content. And both Frank and I think, are kind of on the other side. We like to go follow the guys that make their own content. Maybe it's about collecting more and things like that than follow the influencer stuff.
In my years of being alive, I have developed a certain technique or ability, we should say. It's the ability to smell bullshit. And I don't know. The guy talks, and I can hear him talk, and I know he's full of it within the first 30 to 40 seconds. the more I listen, it's just like, the more I cringe, and I don't know. It's not just that I don't like his face, it's that he doesn't know what he's talking about. And he's always been like that. So the whole thinking he's a celebrity and a star, I mean, technically he is. He got his own Topps trading card, he's got his shop, he's got a bunch of people that follow him without questioning any of his reasonings or methods. So, I mean, what more can you ask for? if that's what your goal is. Yeah. But yeah, good, nicely said. All right, next up, Raider Tupac said, this guy is probably financed by card and grading companies. His store may be mostly for product promotion. Did y'all think of that? Maybe a little bit, but do you think that Topps or Upper Deck or Panini or Beckett or PSA or any of these companies are giving money to Geoff?
I don't know. It's a question that I've seen other guys covering his store ask, but no one. It's all speculation. And
why would they give him money? Like, okay, why would a grading company give you money? Maybe for like in exchange for promotion, yes. But if they know that you have to submit your cards to them, PSA, BGS, SGC, CGC, whatever he uses or wants to use, depending on whatever card it is or whatever the case is, he has to spend money. Like, he has no choice. Do you think these companies are going to go out of their way to give him free money in exchange for marketing and promotion? Because I haven't seen any marketing or promotion that he's giving them. I have seen Geoff on a commercial for BCW supplies. And I wasn't a big fan. I left a comment on the Facebook page. This is, I don't know, a year and a half ago. And BCW, who I love very much, removed my comment. It was not vulgar, but but yeah, I don't know. If the guy takes promotion and marketing, sure. It would be, let me not flub this. I think that if any of these companies, grading card companies or sports card manufacturers, was giving Geoff Wilson money, I think that would be a dumb investment on their part. But who knows? Maybe they can get some level of marketing from Geoff's followers. And if they can, and they believe that it'll sell them product, okay. We don't have any proof of this, though. So
no, it's more speculation stuff. Like, if you go to anybody else on that covers it, they always just ask the question in their show of, like, is Geoff playing with house money from Fanatics or Topps? That's typically the one they always kind of bring up as the one that they assume, because when Topps Fanatics kind of came out with that statement of what they want card shops to be like in the future, and therefore the speculation was, is Cards HQ that card shop that Ruben was envisioning when he had modern day retail card shops, kind of a thing, and therefore did they fund this? And like we said, it's speculation. No one has come out and said, here's where the finances for his shop are coming from. So we're not going to come out and
right.
say that that's the case. We're just sharing that we've heard the question, and that's what people have talked about, and sharing our opinion on it. And ultimately, it's just that we think that it all is just speculation at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he might not. I don't know. Whatever. If they're paying him money, and I don't know, I guess it ultimately at the end of the day comes down to, if we pay you money and you market for us, how much can we sell? Like, that's what all marketing costs are, essentially, is how much product can we sell per dollar or per $100, whatever. So who knows? All right, next up, we've got, I think,
this is the transition now, yes.
We are now transitioning into the glorious dislike comments. So prepare yourselves.
If you don't like negative comments, now's the time to go ahead and... That's all it'll be for the rest of the episode, so... have a nice night if that's the case.
Have a nice night. But I will say that many of these are very, very entertaining. And another thing is, and I think I mentioned this earlier, but like, if people want to criticize us because we are hosts talking about a topic, we'll cover it. We are not like Geoff. So, but, I mean, you have to keep in mind, like, there's a certain level between relevant and irrelevant criticism.
Yes.
So, you know, if you don't understand what a logical fallacy is, don't even bother. Or feel free to leave the comments anyway, and at least we'll get a chuckle out of them. But we're definitely not doing a comments episode every week like this. So starting us off is Bobby Boucher 1096, and he says, Jesus freaking Christ, you lost me at what if Wayne Gretzky was exclusive to Upper Deck? He has been for over a decade.
I'm 100% certain when I watched the episode back, we did say
so did I.
He's exclusive to Upper Deck. We were talking about a Panini product that was trying to honor the Edmonton Oilers team that couldn't get his autograph on it. Not an Upper Deck product.
Right. We were talking about that Gretzky could not do the Edmonton Oilers Panini product, Greats of Edmonton Oilers or whatever, because he was signed to Upper Deck. So yes, we knew that. If you may want to go back and just watch it, because
maybe it's one of those things where in the audio when I think Nicole said it was a Panini card that was trying to honor them. Maybe you didn't hear that at that time. You know, we know audio can be something, but that's the only thing I could think of, because it was really quickly going into saying it was a Panini product. But I rewatched it. We did clarify.
Yeah, we did. It's okay. Bobby Boucher also left a comment on somebody else's comment, stating that they should go watch Sports Card Radio instead, basically, which is fine. He said it was because they have a bigger audience. I don't, and my reply comment back was, I don't see how an audience depends on how relevant what you are saying, you know, what the relevance of what you are saying is. Obviously, Sports Card Radio has been around for 10 years, and we are not trying to be, nor do we want to, we don't want to be Sports Card Radio. We like covering a variety of topics, doing it our way. The hosts can do whatever they want. It's a rotating cast, as we've gone over, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, fine. Yeah, go watch Sports Card Radio, too. They cover a lot more of the drama and the news, and they're a lot more obnoxious than we are. Which can be good or bad, depending on how you see it. Next up, OC Pedal Pusher 8077 says, sounds like you guys are very jealous, lol. The guy is a successful businessman, in and out of cards. Oh, really? Do your research before you bash, shake my head. Haters gonna hate. All right. All right.
Yeah. We've already kind of touched on it where we got our information from. It's from Geoff's videos. It's from his own website. And from Mindcycle's video that broke down when he bought cards based on his videos and what the current market for those cards is. What more research would you like?
So I think the jealousy comment should probably be addressed now before we continue on the rest of the comments, because there's a lot of them that say we're jealous. So here's the thing. Whether someone is or is not jealous of someone has zero relevance to any point that they are making. So let's say you have a problem with me stating what I think of Geoff. Okay, well, instead of calling me jealous, why don't you attack my actual idea or concept or reasoning instead of giving me you're just jealous? Because here's, like, Sure, does everyone want to have more money? Is everyone in the world going to have at least some level of jealousy, unless they're like a Zen Buddhist master, of someone who has more money than them? Of course, they're to a certain extent. But I don't care. I don't sell cards. I don't want to open up a card shop. I'm a collector. I've been collecting since 1990. I don't care about that. I collect what I want to collect and what I have fun collecting. And I have a channel on it for fun. I don't sell you anything. So that blows my mind. And also, the one other thing about it is, if you claim that someone is jealous, does that mean that I am not allowed to criticize anyone who has more money than me, or feel negatively about anyone who has more than me? Sports stars, movie actors, directors, TV show, like anyone in television or broadcasting. That means that I would not be able to criticize or have negative feelings about anyone who has more money than me, because then I would just be jealous. It's just like, it's not necessarily a ad hominem fallacy, but it's kind of a cross between an ad hominem and a appeal to emotion. An ad hominem's attacking me, and it's kind of attacking my character, saying that I'm jealous, but it's also kind of a appeal to emotion fallacy. So, I mean, if you don't know what those are, you can feel free to look them up, but you can't just like, oh, I disagree with this guy's opinion on something. You're just jealous. Like, you could say that with literally anything. Any argument, any opinion, anywhere, political, religious, hobby-related, sports-related, it doesn't matter. You could just say, oh, you're just jealous. It's such a bad argument. So, with that out of the way, maybe you should do your research before you bash Shake My Head, Brian.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. And as far as for
Haters
me,
gonna hate.
It's, I know for me, I'm a collector first, and I'm selling parts of my collection of what I don't collect to fund the hobby. That's what I'm in this for. Is like, I still use the money that I get from selling cards to buy cards for my PC. And I took that from like Dan the Card Man, of like when I was watching some of his videos, like that's how he funds the hobby. It takes a lot longer sometimes to get where I want to be, but that's just the way I feel about how I'm going about it. And so
shut up, Brian. You're just jealous.
Exactly. I'm jealous I don't have all these Brock Purdy rookie patch autos to sell, because that's what everybody wants to hype up right now. No, I really don't care. Like, I also don't want to open up my own like physical card shop. I enjoy selling online as something to do as a side hobby, side hustle thing to make money to spend on the hobby. And that's what I'm in this for, because I enjoy sports and I enjoy sports cards. That's it.
Haters gonna hate. Could literally say that to anything of anybody who ever disagrees with you about anything. All right, next up, we got Jason Trevino. All right, I'm going to read this like it was typed. Wow, first time watching you guys. And last time. So negative. Pretty poor. Jealous. Pretty bad. All right, I thought I wouldn't laugh as hard as these, like reading them for the third, fourth time, but oh man, that one was pretty bad. I think the only thing missing from this is it's not in all caps.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
it needs just the all caps function for it, and then that's just like so many other comments on there.
Right. Yeah, I don't think this needs any more time, but it was worth a laugh.
Yep.
Next up, from Stan Musial 6, a.k.a. Douglas Thurman. Oh, this one's in all caps. When did you become the effing experts? What he is doing is pretty amazing. Leadership class? Get a grip. Leadership class, Brian? Get a grip.
Yeah.
When did you become an expert?
I've only been in, working for a corporation for over 10 years that invests in its employees and puts us through leadership class like Six Sigma, Yellow Belt, and things like that. So I don't know anything about leadership class and how leaders are taught on how to lead your team. That's literally for the last 10, 15 years all I've been doing with my regular day-to-day job work is that. So yes, companies will invest in their employees to make them better employees, because if you read anything on jobs out there, you'll find out that the one area that needs a lot of help is management area, because people are just put into that position without any training. So companies that invest in it, that's what you get. Leadership class training.
No way.
No way, I know. Clearly I'm making it all up.
Yeah, and this also implies that if you aren't an expert, you are not allowed to vocalize opinions.
Silence everybody that wants to have an opinion there.
Right. I mean, which don't get me wrong. I think if you aren't the expert, you shouldn't be claiming that your opinion is fact. That's a difference. But you can still have an opinion and voice it if you aren't an expert. And I don't know if Brian's got a lot of experience with this, and he's taken all the classes, and he's did it for profession for over a decade and stuff. I don't know. Okay, I could listen to that, but this guy's clearly just mad, and what can we say? Some of these people, they love their Geoff Wilson.
I will say, to tie into that as a last minute on there, is that to call yourself an expert in anything, you can also go off of a book that talks about the 10,000 hour rule if you would like to do that. There's a guy that wrote a book about it called The 10,000 Hour Rule, and mentions all these scenarios in which people spent 10,000 hours in something and therefore became an expert, and how that, along with their location of where they were, led to them being in an area of success, even going from looking at businessmen like Bill Gates and stuff like that because of where he was and how quickly he got to his 10,000 hours before anybody else in there. Even goes into mention hockey players, because hockey players born after a certain date will be basically allowed to sign up for teams at an age where they are technically of age to join the hockey teams, but they're just turned that age, versus ones that have turned that age and will turn it and be technically an older 9 versus a brand new 9, and that the ones that are an older 9 have more experience in 10,000 hours because of the fact that coaches will put more into them because they're bigger, faster, stronger than kids that turn 9 a week before the deadline, kind of a thing. So it talks about how most hockey players have 10,000 hours because coaches put that into them based off of the age of where hockey players are, and even showed stats in his book of how many hockey players are born around the time of December 7th in the year, because that's the deadline in Canada to sign up for hockey. And then he goes through and lists all the professional hockey players currently in the
I think
NHL.
it's similar in football as well.
Yeah, it's just a different date range. I think MLB is July, football is August, and hockey is December.
Yeah, this comment's useless. It does not provide any actual important criticism. Also does not specify experts on what, whether it was experts on the later stated implied leadership class, or whether it's on just trading cards in general. I mean, you could probably call me an expert. My head was reading monthly Beckett magazine and collecting since 1990. I mean, at this point, my collecting age is double the length of some collectors' actual age. So I don't know. I would definitely call myself an expert in sports cards. Not all sports cards, but definitely football, basketball. So whatever. That guy's, he doesn't care anyway. Josh B. Kaufman says, the ideas of this video are all based on one thing. Will Greer is worth 4 times more than Kyler Murray.
So I think this one we had a hard time deciding. We're not quite sure whether this is, You know,
is this a troll?
Is this a troll? Is this somebody that is a fan of sports card radio that agrees with our opinions of it? It's kind of a back forward, but like it's a funny comment that we laughed at just because like we know there's that video out there of Geoff saying, you know, Will Greer is 4 times greater and so on, which
we didn't even mention Will Greer at all during the video.
No,
Nor did we mention Ben Simmons or Bo Bichette on the Dodgers or
Lonzo Ball. I know that was one of his originals as well.
If you want to pull back the fails, you can just go back and watch the videos for yourself and see what the buying price was back then, and that's enough said. But yeah, I don't know whether this comment is a positive or a negative one. Whatever, it's neutral. If you are implying that we only dislike Geoff Wilson because of his Will Greer comments, that would be quite short-sighted, especially considering we did detail quite a bit during that episode. So maybe he just watched like a 3-minute clip. Who knows?
Yeah.
Moving on. Tim Randall 1 said, "Wow, I didn't realize people that were this old were still capable of being this jealous."
Yeah.
I hate to break it to you, Tim, but people are capable of jealousy at any age. Not that that's the case, but even if it was, it's still not attacking any actual concepts or ideas or thoughts or whatever. It's just attacking us. Ad hominem attacks, which we did not do except for I did once, I think. Which was, it was joking. It was about the scumbag of the hobby, so.
Yeah.
But.
And another part of it is calling us old. Like, I just had to, like, laugh at that. I'm like, if you're a hobby hero is Geoff Wilson. He's actually 4 to 5 years older than us.
Yeah.
So, last I heard, he's 45 years old. He's 4 years older than me right now. So if I'm old, then he's old as well then too. So what are you listening to either of us then?
Right. On top of that, people who usually complain about people being old are people that think back once they're that age, like, oh wow, that was really dumb. I know when I look back at my times in my 20s, saying, oh wow, you're old, talking about people who are in their 30s or 40s. It goes like that, bud.
It does.
You can't do anything about it. The one thing that you can never run from is Father Time. So you know what? It happens. People can be complete morons and be capable of all types of weird emotions at all ages. So, you know, welcome to society. That was kind of useless. Here's even more uselessness. From Winnie94. The jealousy and pettiness has me trying to figure out if YouTube has a block feature now. You're just jealous and petty, Brian.
I know. I am so jealous and petty. I just have to, from now on, all I'm going to do is bring up Geoff Wilson.
No.
I'm not.
You need to start bringing up everyone who has more money than you.
Exactly.
And be jealous and petty towards every single one, because that's all you're about is jealousy and pettiness. And I have my brain is not capable of understanding that people can have opinions based off of facts on people, or be able to read them. It's rough.
I mean, one of the things I'll say about this is that, you know, I was a collector when I was a kid and came back into this hobby recently and so on. That, you know, one of the reasons why, like, covering stuff like these people and so on and, like, talking about who they are, sharing opinions about them, is that these voices are very influential to people coming back in or brand new to the hobby. And if you don't know to keep looking and how to research and find the voices that you want to follow and so on, it can be very hard to get away from these voices. And part of the reason why, like, I'm definitely all in on the hobby again now is because back in 2019, when I first started coming back into the hobby, it was a very light touch to it. because of voices like Jeff's that were talking about the hobby that made me think this is not the hobby I left, and it's not the hobby I want to be a part of. And when I came back now this time around, I found voices that made more sense to me, that I was like, this is the hobby I left, and I'm glad to see it's still there. And therefore, letting anybody that's coming back into it to hear, like, hey, we're out here too. There are people like us that collect and want to collect what we like and build a collection around that. It's part of the reason why a lot of the guys that I do enjoy in the hobby are some of the people that I follow and watch their videos religiously of. And someone that we haven't talked about on the channel, but Carlson Cards is one of those guys that I've watched his videos and seen his stuff about his collection, how he collects, as well as Frank's videos from
He
things
sold
like
me
that.
some Julio Jones graded cards.
Yeah.
So shout outs to Carlson Cards.
Exactly. And Carlson Cards has a great collector base of how he talks about things in the hobby. And
He does like all the gold refractor graded stuff,
yeah.
huh?
Tops
like, of
Chrome,
all the Hall of
Tops
Fame.
Finest.
Yeah.
And it's all Hall of Famers. Or, another thing I like about
Future.
his is a lot of guys that he just played fantasy football with and remembers them being greats. And it made me realize some things I want to do in the hobby with my collection moving forward. And that's the kind of content that, this channel talking about things, I wanted to help new people steer and find their own voice as well into it. So that way, if you're not wanting to go the influencer route that's going to say, buy all this mid-modern, really expensive stuff and grade it with PSA all the time, hey, here's some other collectors out there that are doing it. So yes, I'm not jealous of this, and that's what I wanted to find those kind of things and help other collectors coming back to see the light of that, hey, there are still people out there that just collect what they like and enjoy stuff from the early 2000s, enjoy 90s basketball inserts that, are out there and stuff like that. It is out there. You just got to find it.
I have two things to say to Winnie here. And the first one is, if you want to continue following and sticking up for a man who's been in this hobby since 2019, when collectors of 10, 15, 20, 30 years are calling him out, that's all up to you. You are more than welcome to do anything you want. And I will help you. My second comment is I will help you about the block feature. So what you do is, let's say you're watching this video right now. On the right-hand side, there will be suggestion videos. You can click on the 3 dots next to one of our videos on that right-hand side, and then click Don't Recommend Channel. Then you hopefully should never get one of our videos up again. Anyone who is not here for the content or is not going to enjoy our content, no matter who the hosts are, you are more than welcome to do it. We don't care. We're not doing this for monetary value. We are not trying to take your money or get you to spend money from us or whatever anywhere. Who knows? Maybe that'll change with the sponsor. Probably not when we're covering controversial topics like this. But let's move on.
Yep.
All right. From Main Digital, also known as This Is Not a Hustle, says 3 losers complaining about a winner. I didn't hear one valid argument on why he is a scumbag. Okay. All right. So he's going to immediately start off with ad hominem attacks towards us. And to be fair, I did joke that he was a scumbag in that episode. Okay. Yeah. So maybe I deserve the ad hominem back. But yeah, Brian, he didn't hear one valid argument on why he's a scumbag.
Maybe that's because the segment was on Cards HQ and not the history of Geoff Wilson. Look, if you really want us to cover Geoff Wilson of why we think he's a bad actor in the space,
do we have to?
We can do that. We can beat a dead horse. But I would say go watch, Dan the Card Man. Go watch Mindcycle's videos. Go watch Sports Card Radio. Sports Card Radio does it just about every week. Hell, they start the video off with a song that bashes him. So if you want to watch anyway, it's going to have negative comments.
I'm not going to lie. It's a pretty entertaining song.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you want to see everything he's done, you can go back and watch their channels to see that kind of stuff on there. We were talking about Cards HQ and giving the opinions on that part of it. We got caught off and...
He's a winner, and we're losers.
Okay.
I mean, what more is there to say? That's all you got to say right there. We're losers, and he's a winner. Game over, man.
Oh, yeah. Done. Over. Shut the channel down. We're over.
First of all, it also depends on what you consider a winner. What are you considering a winner? Someone who became who paid to become a hobby celebrity? I don't have that desire. I don't care. I collect, and I'm going to collect nothing that happens with the hobby or its drama or its buying or selling or its market increasing or decreasing or sponsors or anything is going to stop me collecting for fun. And who knows, maybe someday I'll start selling. Who knows? But what is a winner? Like, is a winner someone who has a shop? I don't want a shop. Is a winner someone who has, like, a family with, like, wife and kids? Brian's got that. Like, what is a winner? That's all relative. And 3 losers. So, I mean, clearly,
is it because of the fact that we don't have as large of a channel as him? And if that's the way you judge it, then is Geoff really a winner in the YouTube space? I know plenty of people on YouTube with far larger channels that don't do sports card hobby stuff, but
is it profit margin of value of collection? Because I bet you I probably have Geoff beat on that one. If you take up all my purchases for the last 10 years, and hold on, how many years has Geoff been in the hobby? 5. If you take all my purchases from the last 5 years, and you look at what the value of those what those cards are worth now, compared to what I bought them, and then you did the same exact thing with Geoff, I might actually have a better overall percentage. I'm not saying more money, because he has a lot more valuable cards, but he's lost a lot more. So per dollar, I would probably have a more valuable collection than Geoff on a per dollar average, I bet, per purchase or whatever. Like, value wise, I don't know. Who knows? I got my spreadsheets. It'd be an interesting
thing for someone to do a deep dive, but then we'd also have to know. That's another thing. We'd have to know his PC side of it, which is, he's shown a little bit of that in some videos on Chasing Cardboard, but we don't know the full spectrum of what is Geoff's full PC since he's come back into the hobby.
Right, and whatever. We didn't cover valid arguments on why he's a scumbag. Yeah. Because that wasn't what the topic was. I could say the same thing to you. You not saying that what a winner is means that you don't know and you're a loser. I don't know. It's whatever. I'm pushing it at this point. All right, here's another one. You guys are a joke. Do your research before you speak on a subject. From Oscar Torres. Yeah, Brian, it was your topic. How come you didn't do any research before you spoke, which made you a joke? What's up with that?
Yeah, I'll
put you on full screen.
I just totally make things up off the top of my head. I don't actually review or research anything. I just guess. That's all. No.
What about that Google Doc we got? It's got all this.
Exactly. No, as far as like what I contribute for the channel for like the host side of things of adding topics and looking at things, I'm the person of the group that right now watches the stuff that of the 3 of us nobody wants to watch. And I do it because of the fact that I ask myself questions about things when I'm watching it, whether I like the content or not. And Geoff's is one of those voices I genuinely don't agree with a lot of his information on. I watch certain videos of his because they're topical ones like Cards HQ and so on. And as I watch him talking about it, I generate questions going, what is this all about? And then where I do my research is by going to the sources from his own mouth in his videos, and then the other part from his own website, as well as when other videos, which part of the biggest thing that I generated a lot of the questions from was him visiting shops like Ryan Card Collector 2 or Burbank Sports Cards shop. and seeing how their systems were built of moving tons of product in the spaces they have, and then him building a card shop that used absolutely
the complete opposite.
Absolutely none of that information that he took from Bird Bank, and he used none of it. And I will say, in the last week, there's been a video of another YouTuber that went to his shop and noticed when they were walking around the shop that they were some of the only ones looking at the vertical display cases. There was no one in Breaker Row. And that the only people in the shop were at the value box tables. And they were like, they need more of those, and they need more value boxes, because that's where everyone in this store is.
They're going to have to sell a lot of value cards to pay for that space, too, especially if those slabs in the vertical displays are not selling.
And let's face it, when we think of sports card shops, you know, I actually have a pretty strong opinion of Burbank being a great card shop of getting things out there, just because of the fact that they know how to categorize, list, and sell everything that walks into their door that they need to put in that inventory. And they know their inventory like the back of their hand, so if a guy walks in with stuff that they already have, they know that they can't buy that. And they buy it for such a low price that they can sell it for 50 cents, $1, 75 cents. And that's why their eBay store is pumping out thousands of cards a day, is because of the fact that they've built that system. And Geoff went there. He saw that. He was in the warehouse, something that not a lot of people get to do. And from there, he's taken none of it, and he's made it a studio with a card shop in it.
It's like a halfway filled museum, essentially.
Yeah, which, like we said, it looks impressive. You walk in and see all those cameras. I would be like, wow, that's really cool. It's cool that I could sit down at a table and I could rip a pack, and I'd be like, I'm on their website ripping a pack or a blaster box or a hobby box of cards, you know, and all that kind of stuff.
Impressive,
yeah,
definitely. But impressive does not mean intelligent, especially from like a business perspective. But then again, like I said, Geoff is not a businessman, because a businessman is focused on profits and makes profits. Look up the definition of businessman. Geoff is not making money, or if he is, it ain't much. Yep. So, moving on. What do we got? Hunter Garcia. Straight ass! You guys got 20 subs and are just jealous of people doing better than you. Here, I'll give you a full screen. You're straight ass!
That is probably... doesn't matter how many times I've read that comment. That one's probably my favorite to just read, just because starting off it's like, great.
Immediate personal attack on 20 subs. Dude, we're on episode 5. The channel is less than 2 months old. Do you really expect us to like buy a bunch of followers like Geoff Wilson's done? I mean, allegedly. Feel free to go look at all of his Instagram followers and see how many fake ones there are. But, yeah, we only... Well, now, what is it now? 38 or 39 or something? So good for us. Now we have double of Mr. Straight Ass. I don't think that deserves any more attention. So next. 27 followers, grimace emoji, laughing emoji. Keep up the good work. Is this a troll? I can't tell. We know he's just a fake like most of you YouTubers. YouTuber? So what's the problem again? Thinking emoji. This is from Adaptation 49.54. What? Is this English?
Yeah. This definitely feels like either sarcasm towards like making fun of us as the channel because of the fact that we're, I don't know. I had a hard time with this one as well, just because it's like we're all YouTubers trying to become famous like him. Is that what you're kind of getting at?
First off, we're not YouTubers. We are just individual collectors that are on a show called Inside the Hobby, in which other people can come on the show and co-host and give their opinions and talk about their topics. But whatever. I mean, I guess that's... If you're on YouTube, that makes you a YouTuber. Wouldn't YouTuber imply that like we're trying to make money off of this too?
Yeah, that's what I would think, yeah.
People who pay their bills using YouTube. Bro, it's not that serious. We're 2 months in. Okay? We're going to have a bunch of hosts on. So I don't know. If this is who they're sending, they're not sending their best. All right, next up, Robert Collings 8170. Sounds like y'all are jealous of someone that's been doing well. I don't know why I read that in a southern accent. But
next.
All right. This guy buys card at 60% and then sells them at 100%? No shit. That's how you make profit. You don't buy a card for $100 to sell it at $100. Brian.
Yeah. So the whole point of what we were talking about there had nothing to do with that. We understand that's what business is. You buy low, you sell high. We even said that in the Eric Michael video.
Yeah, we said that
about that. It was the fact that he was putting a fixed price that was non-negotiable, that a hobby that's built on making deals and negotiating, just like you see in Card Collector 2, Mojo Sports, people, or any of the other influencers that buy cards.
He does the flip coins and everything. Like people love, the kids love Card Collector 2, and he does the whole negotiation thing. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't really watch hobby YouTube. I don't. I used to. I've watched a couple shows every once in a while, or one of the podcasts or something, but it's a rarity. But don't almost all of these famous YouTubers or card influencers do like the whole haggle thing at shows?
They do.
And the coin flips at shows?
They show them making deals of like walking up and saying, a guy says everything at comps here is this much, and then they haggle the price down to get it like for 80 to 60% of the comps, and they don't usually end up showing them selling it on there, but at the same time you see them in, like Ryan's got a lot of videos of himself in his shop, someone making a deal with him to buy his cards,
part of the
and
culture.
He totally makes deals with things like that. So it's a part of the culture. Hobby.
Even card shows. You go to a card show, or if you follow a card show profile on Instagram, after the card show's over, during the last 12 hours of a show, you can flip to their Instagram stories, and it's just nothing but individuals having cards on one side and cards and cash on the other side. Made a deal with so-and-so at so-and-so show. Great deal. Who do you think won, or whatever? Like, we know, we've all seen Pawn Stars. We know that you can't buy something at 100% and sell it at 100%. No shit.
Yeah.
I guess he thought that we didn't, did he really think that we didn't know better and that we were just,
I mean, about the only thing that I would say as a criticism of it is that I was saying the percentage of like 100%, but what I was referring to is the negotiation.
Yeah.
That's what it was about, is the fact that if Geoff puts the price of, a good example is that he bought some like Trey Lance RPAs from one of those guys in that video. Those Trey Lance RPAs he bought for $500. And then he's put $500, or puts, let's say, $650 on the sticker for those cards. Puts them in his display cases. Last comps of those cards is now going for $50 because Trey Lance is a backup to Dak Prescott now. And somebody goes, I'll give you $50 for him. And he's going to say, no, it says $650. That's what we're referring to about this part of, like, we're saying, why would you... obviously that's a massive drop, but Trey Lance is a good example of someone who will be having a massive drop. But, like, the other part of it being, like, if you bought a card for, $80 and you got it listed for $100 and somebody's going to come in and give you $95 or $90 for it, that you're not going to take the cash in hand when it's been on your shelf for, a few months or something like that. Like, that's...
Once again...
about the hobby.
This is... bad business. You don't take something that is in every form of collectible, hobby, commerce, culture, and just get rid of it and just say, no, I'm firm. Like, if you are a businessman, which means you are trying to make money, you flip what you can to get a decent or relevant profit, or at least just make your money back if it's not selling, so that you can keep that money moving. Now, I'm not a flipper. I don't like flipping. It's a pain in my butt. I don't want to follow week to week what player does what. I'm a collector. I like collecting guys who are Hall of Famers or future Hall of Famers. There's also a long-term investment, like proper investment in doing something like that, because Hall of Famers are always going to demand a certain value. They can even go out and kill somebody like O.J. Simpson, or do nasty things and take money away from poor people like Brett Favre. But sure, there might be a minor value decrease or increase depending on what was done. But these guys are always going to hold a value. So, okay, I'm okay with getting Hall of Fame stuff and future Hall of Famers. That's just an example.
It's just like
I don't know, man.
You see anybody that's either at a card show or selling cards, is that you walk into a card shop and there's a lot of times where it's, here are display cases of the new hot rookies that everybody's going after. But then some card shops have a ton of, here are display cases of the Hall of Famers and the greats that are there, that are sitting there. And that's, in most card shops I've seen in the Phoenix area, that's what a lot of their, display cases is filled with, is guys that are headed to or are in the Hall of Fame, because they know that those cards will at least hold that value. Right. Whereas the guys that are rookies, they want those up front, get those to the people that want to buy them right now, because they want that to be a revolving door of cards over and over again.
Point being, I mean, it's one thing if Geoff Wilson is being an investor, he wouldn't be selling the cards in the first place. So he's trying to be a flipper. But if you're a flipper, you don't have hard set prices. You get 90 out of that card that you have listed at 100 that is selling for, 80 to 120 when you paid 60 for it. You take the $30 profit and you move on, and then you take that money and you put it into something else that you can also make $30 on. Because, once again, he's not investing, because if he was, the card wouldn't be listed at all. It would be stashed away because he believes it has long-term value. And he is flipping, but he is not doing the flip culture, which is take what you can, move, keep that money moving. This isn't rocket science. This isn't me making this up. I'm not the flipper. I'm not the expert on flipping. I know how it works. You can go view 200 people's channels about flipping cards, and they'll show you what they made, how much they made, how much they paid, how long they waited. They'll show you their spreadsheets, all that kind of stuff. They'll show you their packages that are going out every day. Like, this isn't rocket science. So, like, if you're in a selling market and you are trying to make money on sports cards, and you have that big of a location with a very high expensive real estate monthly cost, you might want to sell some cards.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I mean,
but once again, this comes back to businessman. I don't think he's a businessman.
Exactly. And like, if you want to find content around that of people that are, like, I would even plug SCV Sports Cards at this point to watch his content, because his channel is dedicated to being a sports
the wild
card
man?
business. What's that?
Is he the wild one?
He's like a 21-year-old kid, but he's got some hot take kind of items of what he says, but he's...
Is he the one you sent me with, the dude was in his window and he was strapped?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, he's a
character.
He's a character.
But I mean,
I'm not hating.
Yeah, all he does is talk sports card business, is what he is. He uses the term investor too, because I think in this space of sports cards, that's what, maybe that's what Geoff has kind of like made this is like, people don't call themselves sports cards flippers or sports card businessmen. They just call themselves the word investor because it's what they like. Everybody wants to hear.
I just say Geoff isn't a businessman because of the not making money part. There's no proof of that. Clearly, I would have to see his books, which will never happen. But you get the idea. But I know what you mean by, like, the culture is calling it investing, when really it's flipping. But look up the definition of investing. So I collect and invest, but I invest because what I happen to collect happens to be smart investing with the whole Hall of Famers thing. So, like, I'm investing, but my goal is not to invest. My goal is to collect. I just learned to collect what I collect.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't always like that. You saw my Dan Marley collection.
Yeah, I mean...
If I had the knowledge, not just about Jordan, for an example, but if I had the knowledge on how to collect, I would have collected Jordan.
Oh, of course.
And then, like, we all knew he was the GOAT, but we all chose to collect Marley and Sean Kemp over here.
Exactly. Yeah, like, and, that's obviously when we were doing that, we were kids, and we were basically collecting the guys we liked because of what it was that inspired us to collect them. But going back to tell my 10-year-old self when I was collecting, only get Michael Jordan, I'd be in a different situation if I would have just bought and collected Michael Jordan and gotten rid of everything else, because...
You'd have a lot of property right about now.
Exactly, because no matter what, Jordan has gone, at least held strong in the market for sports cards and is continuing to go up. But that's for another day as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was a long episode. This was something different. We've never done this before, and we don't expect to do this super often. It was mainly using the attention that we got due to drama to create something that we felt was relevant, not only for the clicks and the views, but also because we once again, we felt it was necessary for us to address the criticisms towards us, just like we give criticisms out. So, whatever. I thought it was entertaining. We got some good laughs. And, maybe this wasn't for everybody, but starting next episode, we will be back on the normal. We're going to have a different co-host on to join us, other than Nicole. We're gonna switch around and start doing the moving the co-hosts. There may be even several episodes within the next 10 or so where I'm not on the show. I am just doing the producer role in the background and give other people opportunities to step in here, cover whatever topic they want to cover and discuss them. And I think that is fun, and I think it's entertaining. So, and it's a lot more entertaining than listening to the same exact people over and over again. And then you get a little bit of everything. You get some good news. You get some, like we mentioned in our intro, hobby news, hobby drama, insider talk, and stuff about collecting, investing, and selling. That's essentially perfectly what we're doing here. In fact, speaking of insider information, you are going to have to stick around this channel, hit like, subscribe, because next week, not only is it going to be a great show that has a great balance of, maybe some positive, negative, or whatever, but part of that hobby insider comes into play because I have some information about a new Topps basketball product that has not been announced yet from Topps or whomever else they're working with. So I will break that information next week on the show next week. We don't know who the co-host is going to be guaranteed yet. We have a pretty good idea. We have a lot of people who are very interested, and if you are interested, make sure to hit us up. Instagram, or once again, send an email, InsideTheHobbyShow@gmail.com. Brian, do you have anything else to cover regarding our Geoff Wilson drama from episode 4 that we're utilizing for views and clicks?
No, at this point, I think we've said our piece of it. We've kind of talked a lot about it, and it, like I said before, going into why we dislike Geoff is just another topic we don't need to really go into. This was just to talk about his shop, and now following up with all the comments of it, because the attention our channel got from it. Moving forward, it's going to be back to the usual kind of content of 4 topics we talk about. And, there's definitely a lot of stuff, I think, in our pipeline, like Frank was saying, of a lot of collector-based stuff that's going to be coming, of things we're excited about that we want to talk about. But in the meantime, if there's bad actors or things that you guys need to be aware of that we want to talk about, it's also stuff we want to cover, just so that way no one gets caught up in taken advantage of in a hobby where somebody gets taken advantage of left and right, and that's why you have somebody talking about it every week, it feels like. With more hobby drama news that happens every single day.
Yeah, and we can't cover it all. We're not trying to cover it all. Once again, we're not trying to be the hobby watchdogs, but we are going to cover something if we feel it's relevant and if the whatever host wants to talk about it. But anyway, Brian, I blame you for all of this. I thought I was hoping we would get through more than 4 episodes before we had to talk about Geoff Wilson, but it happened, and I said what I had to say, and clearly it rubbed his fanboys the wrong way, which are, judging by these comments, not the brightest bunch. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm not trying to be ad hominem attack there. I'm basing that off of facts. All right.
All right, everybody.
See you in the next show.
See you in this next show. Have a good one.